I'm basic. Any more numbers type? I double checked if those were R neutral. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
Who was that?
Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late. I not to give you too much information, but I am currently suffering from some form of indigestion or upset stomach, and it's not doing what I want it to do. My yield, thank you for the 37. Appreciate it. Also had quite a bit of gaming news come out again today. Um, and we did get the Charlie review out. If you guys didn't see, also the current artwork for stream is from Freed Turing. He was kind enough to do a commission for me of Monster Hunter Aurelia. Phase 2 is amazing. I do like it. I have a couple of critiques of it, but I do like it. And I also understand it is early access, so like stuff is very likely to change. Apparently, news is just now breaking as well that the next Battlefield game is going to be live service. I don't think that really shocks anyone. Other than maybe the insane realization that there will in fact be another Battlefield game. On today's agenda, we have the Kreimhild review. I'm going to be trying to check out account binding with you guys, at least to the extent that I can. And it is a media share night. Okay. The tweet is live. Do me a favor and go give it some love. Hello, Angora. Isn't shocking they have to make another game to fix what happened? Yeah. Hello, Zafir. Hello, Deuce. Or Deus. And Kyle. How you guys doing? Where did I put today's artwork? It's somewhere. There it is. All right, we are good to go. Let's get this party started. Swoomp. Okay, here is today's artwork. Go give the artist some love. It's a dual feature. Happy account day? Yes. Like I said, we're going to look into the account binding. Thankfully, to no one's surprise, Avalon did some legwork for us and figured a bunch of it out. So I'm going to be picking his brain. We're going to be going through it together if I can. And like I said, this is also supposed to be Kreimhild review day. So I'm going to try to get through with FGO basically as fast as possible and then get on to like the content. And then later, assuming we have time, we'll be doing media share again. You know, I actually assumed that Urail is not man-traded, so I probably don't need to keep using that Kaya skill. Hello, IA. How's it going? But yeah, if you guys are paying attention to the gaming world today, we did have quite a bit of news again. Basically, Helldivers immediately already has like another patch that is addressing some of the issues. Ghost of Tsushima is confirmed to require PlayStation Network for multiplayer mode, but not for single player. So if you're playing it single player, you don't have to have a PSN account or anything like that, which most people playing Ghost of Tsushima like will just play single player, so that's not a huge deal. And then probably the two biggest elements of news is the president of Nintendo came out and actually officially announced that you will get news about the successor to the Nintendo Switch this year. He didn't say when. He just said that they have a upcoming Nintendo Direct, but it will not be revealed at that. So we'll have to wait and see when they do it. It's probably going to be something at like maybe like that summer game showcase or something that we have every year in place of E3 now. But either way, it'll be nice to finally see the Switch 2 rumors put to bed. Because I know if you're like me, you're probably tired of them at this point because they've just been going on and on and on. To which I said, oh, Elgato is showing? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, Elgato is showing? That's... Huh? Because that's the wrong computer, so hold on. I'm sorry, chat. I didn't mean for you guys to see my Elgato. There you go. Now it's working. I was just literally just grinding here on the side. Sorry about that. Don't worry, you guys didn't miss anything. It's just me farming the NA node. But I was saying, like, the beauty of the Nintendo announcement is that now we can have 2 years of break where we don't have to deal with Nintendo Switch rumors. And then 2 years from now, after the release of the new system, we will start to get Switch 3 rumors. So, just because. But that's, like I said, we've been basically having like Switch 2 rumors for years and years and years at this point. I think Sathena would get mad if you keep calling her Urail. Yeah, Urail. You know, it's weird because I 100% have Urail in my backline right now. Ray, thank you for the 51. Thanks for all the content. No problem. Glad you're enjoying it. And welcome back, bud. I never gave any fuck about these rumors. I didn't really either, because like I knew it's like Nintendo will announce it when they're ready, right? Like people can sit there and like hypothesize about it all they want, but like I guess it really only matters in the sense of, are you interested in buying it and do you have enough money to do so? That's it. If the answer to either of those questions is no, then it doesn't matter anyways. I believe the Switch 2 rumor started the day the Switch was revealed. Probably. Who shot at Drake's house? I don't know. I heard there was a shooting there, but I didn't hear. Like, I'm still not entirely like up to date with the whole drama happening with that. I just basically heard that someone accused Drake of being effectively like a pedophile, and I'm like, well, I don't know these people well enough to know whether or not that's true. I'll just let everybody else decide. Drake, yeah, not FGO Drake, the rapper Drake. All I hope is that it's backwards compatible. I think they actually already said that it will be. Because like they don't have any plans to change the existing Nintendo infrastructure. If I need to, I'll go Hungary. You're gonna go to the nation of Hungary? Drake from Degrassi. Yeah, that one. Remember the witch trials? Mm-hmm. Get the last two gens of Nintendo because I'm a gotcha gamer now. Damn, I feel sorry for you. And the only reason I feel sorry for you is because that probably costs you more money. But maybe you play gotcha entirely free to play, and if that's the case, then maybe you save money. So. The one meme with the red jacket knowing yes, yeah. I never watched Drake and Josh as a kid. It was after my time, but like I've at least seen enough of the memes to kind of understand the context of them at this point. Okay, so I actually have some blah 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 storm pods that I kind of need to do because I'm sitting at 6 out of 9. I didn't do yesterday's for whatever reason, so we'll go ahead and do a couple here. Or at least one. One would get me to 120. Well, I guess doing 3 would get me to 80, so that would also work. Saw the Microsoft news? Yeah, that is the quote unquote biggest news that happened today. I was actually talking to my buddy from Bethesda. He said basically he didn't think anyone from Bethesda got cut. Like Bethesda proper, right? But like, yeah, this is messed up. So like essentially it just sounds like at this point that Microsoft is not the, sweet smelling rose that everyone thought they were. And I kept kind of trying to say this to you guys. I know people like Microsoft. I know they kind of are at least more popular at this point, I'd say, like politically for gaming reasons, than say Sony or something right now. But the problem with this is, and I was pointing this out back then, that it's like, I understand the need to have like a big publisher, a big producer kind of over the top of you and like helping out in terms of like funding you and doing stuff. But it's like, again, you can look at like the Helldiver situation and see that like sometimes, even if it's like not purposefully intended, even if it's totally unintentional, it might backfire on you. And I'm not saying the Helldiver situation was, but like the whole point is there's obviously a lot at stake here. And so I can understand people wanting to go under the Microsoft umbrella. I understand the amount of support and funding that they get when they do that. But I said it back then, I'll say it now. I firmly do not believe the Activision Blizzard like acquisition should have ever gone through. That was a terrible move for gaming. And I think over time, you guys are going to kind of see that while basically they can still provide a lot of support, this is the downside. We've already had layoffs in Activision Blizzard, and now Bethesda's getting gutted of all its like subsidiary studios. It's not a good day in gaming. You've got a ton of developers that are basically turned out on the street, a ton of talent as well, because again, there are still good developers even at the studios that develop things like Redfall and stuff like that. But probably the most perplexing one out of all of them is the fact that they out and destroyed Tango Gameworks, because Tango is responsible for things like Ghostwire Tokyo and Hi-Fi Rush. Literally a brand new IP that came out last year that everyone was like really positive about and super hyped for going forward. So it's kind of wild that they kind of just turned around and said, nope. And then in the same like email blurb, they say that part of the reason they're doing it is to help them work on new IPs. It's like, that's just not true. That's a load of hogwash. And so here's what I'm going to point out to you guys. Y'all need to stop looking, and I'm not saying like each individual one of you, I'm not pointing the finger at any of you, but just like in general, gamers have got to stop actually trusting what the guy on the couch in the middle of an interview is saying, right? The dude that they send out on the podcast, basically. Don't trust what Matt Booty's saying. Don't trust what Phil Spencer's saying. They're telling you things you want to hear. They're the forward-facing sort of media face for the company that is out there to try and spin it positively. That is what they are. They are spin. Do not believe what they say. Even if they're well-intentioned, even if they're trying to say the right thing because they truly believe that that will be the case, they're not. They're wrong. Because at best, they're just actually wrong and their boss is subverting things behind the scenes regardless of what they're being told. And at worst, they're just straight up lying to you. So everybody needs to stop saying like, oh, well, look at Microsoft. They're doing all these good things. And all it amounts to is they're just, saying pretty words to you. Chat, you can say whatever the hell you want, but at the end of the day, it's the actions that speak louder. So we can kind of look at all the studios that Microsoft acquired over the past like year or two here and watch as they just went ching, 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 ching down the line, just basically like chopping each one, like carving pieces off of them. So I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, nobody should have a positive opinion of Microsoft after something like this. And in the same way that, like, if everyone wants to be upset with Sony, they absolutely should be about Helldivers too. But I'm going to say you can't apply it to just one or the other. If you do, you're probably being a fanboy at that point. Because it's pretty clear that at this point, we have this somewhat struggle for the soul of gaming. That we have these really big publishers and producers out there that are kind of trying to control everything, trying to gobble up as many of the studios as they can, but then they don't take care of them. And the reason that this looks so bad, so that we're clear, it's not just that they closed several studios. It's that Matt Booty and Phil Spencer went out and said they weren't going to close those studios, that they were going to invest in those studios, that especially in the case of Redfall, it was their fault for not supporting them adequately. And then they turn around after saying they're not going to close them and close them. So the employees are always going to be looking over their shoulder. They're always going to be wondering how close the axe is swinging to their head. Because even if you're someone like Tango, and to understand this, Tango basically is Microsoft's pretty much only Japanese studio. And we've heard over the past couple of years that Microsoft really wants into the Japanese gaming market and that they're trying to establish relationships over there. And they took the only Japanese studio that they had, one that was wildly successful as of this current point in time, and closed it? That's not earning them any goodwill, I guarantee you. So, like, I don't really get it. Casual reminder that CAD sided with the Corp and actually trust them in Cyberpunk. Only because I was trying to do the only thing I could to survive. And to be fair, that is technically the only route in Cyberpunk that you do survive. However, no, I still don't. I'm still going to go ahead and say, like, you should not, in general, just trust something that you're told at face value, right? But no, like, look, a game is one thing. Talking about the actual creation of games is another. The forward-facing guy from 80% of the companies are a bald-faced liar. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say is like, don't just believe it just because the guy got up there and said something you wanted to hear. Ask yourself how true it is. Ask yourself what their motive is, right? Like, Xbox has kind of been saying like, oh, we want to like bring stuff, to help gamers. We want to make things fair for gamers. Please subscribe to our Game Pass. Please pay us money. Please keep buying our games. Chat, are they on your side? No, they're not. They just want your money. In the same way that Sony just wants their money. In the same way that Nintendo just wants your money. You can always rely on that aspect of these companies, that they will do what is in their best interest. Not in the developer's best interest, in their best interest. They just count dollars, exactly. Valve has continued to prove to be trustworthy, IMO. Hope they keep it up. Valve, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm not going to say that Valve will be perfect, right? But I think Valve is pretty trustworthy, at least until you either hear news of Gaben retiring or he dies. Like, whichever one of those comes first. If either one of those happens, you guys need to immediately go, okay, I no longer trust Valve. The second that happens. Because to me, Gaben is the only reason that they have the pro-consumer stance that they actually have. And we'll see. Maybe going forward, Gaben has set stuff up that Steam continues down that path for the foreseeable future. But you guys always need to be reevaluating that in all seriousness. Especially for us as PC gamers, chat, what are you going to do the day that Steam closes down? And your entire Steam library and all the games that you have in it are gone. Because they're digital. You don't own an actual copy of it. Pirate, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, if Steam closes down, it'll be difficult to actually find copies of certain things to pirate. So. Yeah, but that's kind of the point that I'm making. It's like, that's something you should think about. I'm not telling you to go out and pirate right now, but I am going to tell you that, like, you should be thinking about the repercussions of what happens eventually to that library of yours. Because that is going to be a major issue. I think it's one of the fights that gamers are going to have coming up is, at what point do you actually have ownership? Where do your consumer rights begin? Because, you look at like digital sales nowadays and you look at these companies trying to re-release products on new consoles or, remasters of things and stuff like that. And your original versions don't work all of a sudden or can't be purchased anymore. And you have to ask yourself, okay, then do I actually own this thing? Or are they just really just renting it to me for a one-time fee? I heard that Nintendo hired a DEI person. I mean, that's honestly not surprising to me. You're going to tell me that probably one of the most bullish copyright enforcers in the entire gaming industry is concerned about piracy? Oh, no, sorry. DEI, not DRM. DEI, that's not a good thing either. But it is what it is. The minute Steam's head drops out, you stop updating Steam and you go into offline mode to prevent it from fucking with your games. It probably still needs to call the server for things, and you would still, at that point, only have the things that are physically installed on your computer. You would need to reconnect to the servers to ever download a new game or update a game. So even if you did that, you would not be safe. Like, the second you hear that Steam's person, like Gaben leaves, that's exactly when you need to go, I am now going to try and download every single thing that I have on Steam. Everything I can get my hands on. So I have most of my games installed, yeah. Yeah, it's like, that'd be the only real way. Gotta trust in Gaben's son to continue like he did. Yeah, and that's like I said, that's your big benchmark is whenever Gaben decides to step away for whatever reason. That's when you need to go, okay, what's gonna happen to Steam? And you need to have some kind of idea about it. We need Gaben's brain put in a supercomputer. No, we need it put in like one of those like robot jars from Fallout. Where like he's just a talking, or sorry, it's like both Fallout and Futurama, right? Like we need his brain preserved. Yeah. Mm. Gaben for Overlord, right? But no, I don't want to make too big of a deal out of this, but it is a problem. Okay, this is yet another round of layoffs, and I can understand maybe closing 2 or 3 of the studios that got closed. I cannot understand closing Tango. That makes zero sense to me, especially with what they said after the fact, right? So it's like it's a huge concern. Basically, people need to stop trusting Microsoft and giving them a free pass every single time. That's the issue that I have. And in the same way that like nobody should be giving Sony a free pass for stupid shit either, right? Or Nintendo. It needs to apply equally to everybody. People need to at least stick up for themselves a little bit more. I think we kind of saw that with the Helldivers thing is regardless of the why, regardless of the how, it didn't matter. The result was the result, and gamers didn't like that result. That needed to be something that a stand got made on. And the same thing with various other topics that gamers have kind of had to deal with over the years. Guy might just go into retirement at some point too. I mean, he probably is at this point. He's probably like barely involved with it at this point because he basically just has his yacht and just floats around the world on it. So, at least to my understanding. Nintendo gets a free pass for 2006 online infrastructure. I mean, you know, we were talking about this like everyone is upset about like Sony's hacks, and I at least like was able to rationalize probably why Sony gets hacked more than others. And it's probably because if you look back at the like old days of like internet first coming to consoles and like the like PlayStation Network and Xbox Live. PlayStation Network was always free and you didn't have to like pay anything in order to be able to like make your account and have it. Whereas Xbox Live has almost always been a like premium service and you had to pay. So I suspect there's just a ton more like PlayStation accounts, whether or not they're actively used, right? I'm not saying PlayStation Network has more active users than Xbox Live. I'm saying there is just probably way more PlayStation accounts, and it is probably a much more open infrastructure and probably a lot easier to hack because of it. Whereas you've always kind of had Microsoft on the other end requiring a sort of payment for it. So I can easily see how that probably made it a much more closed loop type of system. When PS Plus became mandatory, it became trash. Yeah, I think a lot of people stopped doing it. And it was only when they started trying to make PS Plus into their version of the Game Pass that it like was like, okay, now there's actually some merit to it, right? Like in that regard, I think like Sony is catching up and playing catch up to some of the others. And I think that's like I said, that's probably how the entire Helldiver situation even happened. Like people are like, oh, why didn't they block it out of certain countries? And I'm like, did Sony know? Like, Sony's never had to release a multiplayer game on PC before. It's like it's their first rodeo too. They fucked up. It doesn't excuse it, but they fucked up. And that's like everyone's assuming it's greed on Sony's part, and it might be, but I actually just assume it's stupidity, right? Like why explain with malice what you know malfeasance can? Destiny 2 isn't multiplayer. Destiny 2, I'm willing to bet, is probably done entirely by Destiny, though, right? Like literally, I think they handle everything. But I don't know. You'd have to tell me. To me, this is the first, like, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, closely held thing. And to be clear, chat, Sony just recently purchased Bungie. So Bungie did have its own liberties for how to conduct itself. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I said Destiny again instead of Bungie. When you buy a PC, why the F would you still pay PS Plus to play online? Yeah, I agree. And I think, like, at the end of the day, they're not asking you to pay so much as they're just asking you to create a PlayStation Network account. And like I said, I actually do believe that it had to do with enforcement. You can debate, like, why the decision was made to put PlayStation Network as the infrastructure in the first place, but that is the way that the game is coded. And I kept trying to tell people, it's like, everyone can get upset over that, but that's the decision that was made, and that's how the developers, like, created the game. So, I mean, you can get upset at the developers for agreeing to it, but it's also, and I explained this before too, it's like, look, when you're small indie dev and you have big publisher and they're promising to make your game a big deal and give you all this money and pay everyone's paycheck for, you know, the next, like, couple years. Hey bro, can you make it so that it functions on PlayStation Network? Sure, man. Like, you're not saying no to that. You're like, okay. Yeah, sure. No problem, boss. Like, I just figured it's because of the cross-platform thing. Yeah, and like I said before too, it is at least our understanding they can't really ban people without the PlayStation Network access because of the cross-play aspect to it. I know I was talking with AP about it last night, and he brought up, well, couldn't they basically, even without it, like, be able to see, like, the like numbers, like the data basically for the PlayStation players? And I'm like, I don't know. That may be a security concern as well. Like, maybe if you're not on PlayStation Network, they're not gonna give you that data for the actual PlayStation players on their own consoles. So it really, like I'm not sure, right? That's something that, like, it would just be a thing behind the scenes, and no one's really gonna know how that one's coded other than the people that actually did it. But I assume that's probably why. And I don't think they're like lying about that, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I think if you're trying to look for any amount of greed in this situation, I think the greed is you got to go all the way back to when they were negotiating with Sony. And Sony basically is like, okay, yeah, but you need to make it, you know, on PlayStation Network. And the developer agreed. That's probably where the greed occurred. But like I said, I don't really know how a developer would have known to say no, or really would have had reason to. Now, though, after that Helldiver situation, I think there is a reason for developers to both have negotiating power with relation to this, and also kind of moving forward know that this might be an issue with gamers and that they need to be careful about what they agree to. So I think they'll take it a lot more seriously, basically. Simple versus full Aniplex online accounts. I've already taken a look at some of that. I didn't like make a tweet about it or anything yet today, because even though I have read quite a bit about the account linking, I don't really want to like say like I know what I'm talking about without laying eyes on the website. Right? Like that's me doing my due diligence and being safe for y'all. And I'm dead serious on that. This is why, like, if I ever feel, chat, so like people asked me, for instance, with the Aoko review, you're already reviewing her? I can't believe you are. Yeah, because I had good knowledge. The only unknown about Aoko was the actual upper limit of what her like attack buffs can scale to. And I didn't know what the upper limit was, but I knew it wasn't the normal stated limit, and that she was an exception to the rule. And that's all I needed to know, is that you wouldn't hit the cap normally still. So that's basically all I needed in order to like make the review for her. But if there was ever a unit where we weren't sure and I wasn't sure how the unit properly functioned and it was a serious concern, like a major part of the unit's kit, I would not review the unit with you guys that day. Period. End of story. I would punt that to another day. Just because I would value being right more than I would value like timeliness at that point. You better know what you're talking about because I'll blindly believe and follow whatever you say. Yeah, and like I do at least take that part of things seriously, right? You guys, if you ever have reason to doubt me, should doubt. Like I'm never going to tell you not to, right? Because and I've said this before too, I might be wrong on things. Like it's entirely possible that I misspoke or I didn't know what I was talking about. And maybe not because I'm just flapping my gums, but maybe just like I wasn't quite sure, or I didn't realize I was wrong because I thought I was right. Regardless of the circumstances, you guys being a skeptic will make me better. It will literally make me come to a better conclusion in the end. For instance, someone pointed out with the Charlie review yesterday that I said, I think it was Bond 12 was what you needed to unlock Salter's first depend. And they were like, no, Cat's actually Bond 10. Guess what? That got put in the notes of the video today that I debuted. So when you guys tell me I made a mistake, I correct myself and I go do it. And that's, like I said, I like to be as accurate as possible for you guys. It's impossible to be 100% accurate. There's too many moving parts to these things. This game is a very deep game in what it actually has and how it works. So in that regard, I know I'm going to make mistakes. And I always ask for patience with you guys if I do, because it's never my intention to mislead. But I take it seriously, at least to the extent that like we give you guys a good review. We give you guys good information that is actionable, that you guys can trust and rely on. There's no point to just push things out that are wrong. Yeah, exactly. And I do think there are things that can come down to opinion. I think there are like, for instance, you know, like the debate raged in the community for years as to who was stronger between Salter and Artoria. This is like before her most recent upgrade on JP. The truth of the matter was, until that most recent upgrade on JP, Artoria has always been stronger from day one on NA. And the only time where that was not true was actually launch of JP right before Artoria had her initial NP interlude, where on NA, she started with it. So that was never true for NA, but people kicked that one around. But again, maybe you still feel like, oh, well, Salter scales better though, and so she might be able to be stronger in the end. That's where, like, I can say, okay, objectively saying that Salter is stronger is incorrect, but if you're trying to look at it from a grailing standpoint, yeah, no, I can't argue that. And I think there's a difference of opinion there at that point. I would still argue like, well, okay, but you could also grail Artoria. But I mean, shit, at that point, you can give 2 more grails to Salter, or at least back then you could. Right now, it's even more. But the whole point being, really, it doesn't matter. One is objectively stronger, but the other can be made stronger if you like them more. And that's where, like, again, taste comes into play, opinion comes into play. It really is one of those things. So I'll always try to give you guys, like, hey, here is the actual fact. What you choose to do with it is yours, right? Like, you might say, like, okay, well, I don't care. Screw your facts, Cad. I'm grailing my waifu, and that's perfectly fine. The Jalter's buff, do you still recommend mana loading as the go-to append? With the 50% charge, I don't think it's as important, but I will say there's still those scenarios where you have like a 30% C because you don't have MLB yet. So like there's always still that reason to have mana loading, but I do think like looking at that, yeah, something like the extra attack may be just really good with her. So it's just up to you to determine. It's kind of ask yourself how you see yourself using Salter, if that makes any sense. Did I put double arts buffs on, didn't I? Yes, I did. Damn it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and give Sieg the 200% there, since I probably need him to fire off his MP here. Except for your favorite servant, it's a waste of time and resources to level 120 a servant. Except for your favorite servant, it's a waste of time and resources to level 120 a servant. No, I don't agree with that necessarily. I think like, and the reason why is like I say like, yeah, there might be like your favorite. Let's say your favorite is Gil. Well, shit. I mean, there's multiple versions of Gil, and maybe there's other characters you like that are just not your favorite. The concept of 120, so that you guys understand, is 120 is a end game goal. And it is an expansion of an already existing end game goal. That is grailing. Grailing in a nutshell is an end game goal. It's also why like I advise you guys usually not to grail early in your account, because resource wise, the amount of resources you will spend on it are better used leveling a new unit up rather than, you know, expanding the capabilities of one unit by like 10%. But it doesn't mean they're a waste. It's one of those things where you have to look at it and say, okay, if it's an end game goal, then naturally, like the rest of my account should be pretty well taken care of. So, I mean, shit, if you have nothing else to spend embers on, maybe you have all of your other units leveled up, there's no reason not to grail units. Especially nowadays where we can print grails. The biggest detriment to this argument, though, and I will just gladly admit it, is coins. Coins are just an immediate stopgap, and there's nothing we can do about it until the devs decide to change their mind. So it's like, I understand people not having a unit at 120 because of coins, but I'm also not going to say that grailing a unit to 120 is a waste. It's just one of those things, I think, where it like it really just comes down to your own personal goals and what you want to do with your account. In gaming with money? Yeah, I mean, like, not even necessarily, right? Like, chat, there's nothing stopping you from taking your Arash to 120. So it's like, it's technically only a concern with, like, 3 stars and higher, and even then only the ones that are, like, limited in some capacity, so. Should everyone 120 Habitrot? No. What if you don't like Habitrot? Or what if you just never use her? Right? Like, go to 120 is something you do once you have all the mats you need and want. Yeah. I mean, like, do I have every single mat that I need or want? I'm close to that on NA. I've already talked with you guys about that. But I started grailing units to 120 long before that. Granted, I'm also going to say that part of the reason that I did is because I knew my account was hitting that point. Even still then, my JP account has multiple 120s. It's certainly not the free-to-play account that it used to be, but it's also not like Omega Whale account. It is literally just an account that occasionally buys a pack here and there. I don't know what to say in that regard, because like I at least have the capability to grail units to 120. And the reason why is I have grails sitting around and I have embers sitting around. Like, all of my units on JP are max level. So it's not that hard, actually, to get every unit in the game that you have at max level. It does require some time, especially because a lot of people will get bottlenecked with just Ascension mats. But once you get through those barriers and you can actually level everybody to max, you realize that, like, you don't really have anything else to do with embers at that point. So usually people will either try to bank embers for the future, or they will essentially try to like start using it on things like grailing projects. Do you think we'll ever get her more primal self, the one that was with Ace? No, probably not. I don't want to waste the embers I'm getting from Lotto. Yeah, and I think that's why, like, again, trying to say that it's a waste, I don't know about that. And I want to be clear, I'm not like trying to take a dig at anyone or anything like that. I actually don't even remember who made the original comment. It's just me saying, like, just like kind of analyzing that idea in general. Like, is it a waste? And I'm like, I don't really think it is. Because in reality, kind of like you said, it might be the reverse. It might be stopping you from being wasteful. But again, these sort of things are difficult to say because it really depends on the status of your account. If your account is very robust, it's been playing for years, grailing to 120 is not a huge concern. Like, it's easy for you to do. If you're somebody that's new to the game, you absolutely shouldn't be grailing anyone to 120. Period. End of story. Like, and that's just because you need every single one of those resources for something else. Like, and I've already told you guys too. The example that I like to give people is grailing to 120 is basically the equivalent of grailing a unit to 100 21 times. Each level after 100 is like leveling to 100 again. So let that sink in, right? Taking a unit to 120 is 21 other units you could have leveled to 100. So you really don't want to be doing that until you have other units that are actually leveled up. Is it worth calculating our 7th Annie Sankcourts in RP? It could be. Again, I'm at least on an A, like a whale, right? So like I don't put too much stock into trying to like penny pinch my courts because I know I'm going to spend money if I have to. But I think if you're someone that's really concerned with being able to hit pity, then it's probably to your best interest to do so. But I think at this point also you should probably ask yourself, do you want anyone after anniversary? Like some of those summer units, right? Think they'll ever get rid of silver embers in a lotto? I've never been asked that before. I don't think so. The one that I've been asked is like, yeah, will they actually include 5-star embers in a lotto? Maybe. I don't really think they will though. If they did, they would probably only include a handful of them per box. So it'd probably be like maybe 5 at the most per box. But yeah, that's what I would see. Is like I don't see them like you're never gonna get like, oh, instead of 4-star embers, it's 5-star embers now. That's not gonna be a thing. Okay, chat. Now that is the AP on both servers. Hold on. Why did I leave FGO? You can only throw embers in 20 times stacks. Yeah, that is definitely an annoyance, but took so many apples with all the experience I had stacked to 120 Aoko day one. Yeah, it's usually not worth it. That is kind of the understanding too, is grailing to 120 is a over time type of project because you cannot physically hold enough embers. Like peak efficiency in your account, maxing out your second archive, maxing out your inventory, maxing out your mailbox. You cannot physically store enough embers to 120 a unit. Period. End of story. So at that point, you know you're going to have to grind it if you're trying to like day one do something. And that's why, like I say, it's pretty clear that the devs intend it to be a long-term thing, a goal that takes you time that you work towards. Because and so that you guys understand it from the dev standpoint, they have to give you things to do. And when they were coming up with the coin system and all of that stuff, they realized like, yeah, we need to come out with this system because players are finishing grinding everything. They're done with all their ascension mats. They have all their units leveled. They don't really have other reasons to play. We need to give them more progression, more goals that they can work towards. So that's where things like appends and again 120 come from. The stupidity of this is then they kind of locked coins down. So there's definitely a good chunk of the population that just says, screw coins, I'm never interacting with these systems. And that's 100% the dev's fault. That is CAD's fault for being done with mats. It is. Like, I'm not even going to deny that. All right. Like, and it's why like the only thing I really have to work on right now is my made ultra to 120. Like I technically do not need to rush it by any means. Okay, we got that. I mean, I can keep grinding this event. I probably will just because I get free materials from it. But I'm basically done. Like I have nothing I actually need from the event. And chat, like, so that we're clear as to like what I'm saying when I talk in-game goals, right? Like, I'm speaking from a point of experience. It's not like I actually need anything on an A. I've been around long enough. Like, why am I buying these statues? I don't know, because I don't need the QP either. Like, that's kind of the problem I keep running into. We'll grab the Lanza pieces. Cat's next goal, 9999, all statues. No. No. I mean, the only reason I even have this much is because I've been around long enough to have done the original lottos that gave out statues and monuments. And it's still an eternal point of malding for anyone newer to the game that, like, they never got to participate in those lottos. Cat is ready for class score? Yes. This is why when people ask me, Cat, are you ready for class score? I'm like, yeah. I don't even have to check. I know I am. I know I have everything. Now, the only thing that could change that would be, some of the like stuff they're doing with the extra classes, and I still don't think that'll be anything because it's just probably going to take more statues and monuments more than anything else. Because that's how extra classes work. As someone that didn't get those lottos can confirm. As somebody that also didn't get those lottos can confirm. I got them on an A. I didn't get them on JP. My JP account really wishes it had that, right? Okay, chat. Today is the Kreimhild. Und ja. Oh god, we had so many freaking windows open. Whee! Okay. Oh, I can cheat. There we go. In fact, this is actually probably a good point to be able to talk about, so let's get in here. Some of those events are working on the interludes. Yeah, you can do that. Like, the only reason that I'm going to sit in the event is because the you get the like miniature lotto in effect from the digging. So like, I'm just getting like free resources, and like, I don't really need it, but at least like short term, I'm not like that well supplied on shells at the moment. So I'm just like, well, I'm getting shells from it, so I may as well just keep doing it. Like, basically that, and I'm just shoring up other materials. So, like, I literally have like nothing to actually farm until Trauma's out, and I think. Wait, did we get a new round of strengthenings and interludes with Bunyan chat with the collab? Did you review on Courage 5? What's AQ5? Sorry, that's my old WoW mentality coming back. Oh, Advanced Quest 5. No, I haven't touched the Advanced Quest yet. I hope to have the time, chat, because I never got to do Advanced Quest 4 with you guys either. So we'll probably have a day that I'll just sit down and do them. In reality, having like Trom come out is good because you guys know I'll go through Trom with you, I'll get it done, and then I'll have basically nothing to do other than farm on stream. So being able to like sit down and do the advanced quests, that should come a little bit easier during that. I just probably won't do them right now. But that's because, again, I have, Kreimhild and Roland to do. Next week, I've got DQ and Moriarty and Zhang Ju. So it sucks. Like, this is kind of the problem, is actually like I'm getting bombarded with servant analysis right now. Because both NA and JP are doing a amazing job staggering. So I'm like sitting here and I'm never really getting a break to work on anything else. But we'll see, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I like skip Zhang Ju or something if I don't really feel like it. But I at least feel like he's somewhat important because he does the whole field mechanic. Okay, where was I? Okay, I just want both those. Don't care about that. Okay, come on. Oh, you're doing a great job here, Fate. I'll let you entirely load. Um, you might be able to. Hold on. Let me refresh myself here. Yeah. Right. I was gonna say she didn't have Invuln and Pierce, but I knew she had something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we are doing the Kreimhild review first, chat, just because I want to make sure that this gets done. This is the thing I'm truly on a timer for. Because I gotta get these out ahead of the banner. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Well, the banner starting soon. It's probably gonna start Monday. Okay, that's. I had a question, but I wasn't. I get it, but I may or may not tell chat about it. I don't know that chat will care. Yeah, it's ooh wow. Hmm. Okay. All right. That's I just needed to like basically to see something there. Okay. So she's not gonna need Invuln Pierce. Not unless it's just unremovable, which it is what it is. Okay. Mm. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Kreimhild. Kreimhild's going to be our newest single target berserker coming to the game with the launch of LB 6.5, aka Trom. So, Kreimhild is a very interesting unit, as I feel like the community for a long period of time has really hyped her up. They've really been excited for her, and we're going to go through her kit and talk about what makes her strong and why you may or may not want to roll for her. Again, just to kind of understand here, one of the big issues with Kreimhild is going to be the fact that she is a story locked unit. This doesn't mean that you have to do Trom in order to be able to summon her, but it does mean that you're basically going to have to treat her as somewhat of a limited type of unit. That is to say, unless you have done Trom, at which point she would be able to spook you when rolling the story banner, the only real way to get her would be to actually do devoted raid ups that have her on it. Now, honestly, I don't really recommend anybody actually roll the story banner. It's usually not worth it for you, especially if you're a more veteran account. Certainly, earlier accounts might be able to roll the story banner and not really get punished, but I don't really recommend it even then. It's usually a better idea to go after devoted things that you actually want and go after the sole singular raid ups that they might have. Now, the good news is Kreimhild will afford you a couple of opportunities by which to roll. This will not be her only banner this year, and I want you to pay real good attention to that, because just to kind of talk about it here, we obviously end up having the release of Trom. Now, we've already reviewed Charlemagne. I'll be probably reviewing Roland here tomorrow, but essentially, you guys are going to end up having the opportunity to roll Kreimhild. The problem with this is she's going to share the banner with Roland, and Roland is a permanent 4-star. He's not a bad unit himself either, but obviously if your entire goal is just to get Kreimhild, this might not be the best option for you. It really depends on what you're trying to do, because I did see a lot of sort of roller's remorse when this came out on JP, as a lot of people just ended up getting repeated copies of Roland instead of copies of Kreimhild, and it really pissed people off. Again, remember, there is like gonna be a split rate up that's obviously going to impact your odds, and there is no guarantee that you get actually one of them. It's not like banners of yore, where basically we ended up having, you know, in the olden days, essentially a rotational rate up for units. No, instead it's just going to be a split rate up the entire time for the duration of this. Another thing I wanted to help you guys pay attention to here is the addition of several craft essences that would be included. Average one is actually surprisingly not average. Again, you might really like the card art, but it is all attack scaling, does have Buster Up, and again, this isn't the MLB version of it, but NP overcharge by multiple stages. You do have projection and yearning, and again, these are just new. They're not actually on rate up for you, but they will be added to the pool. No, I'm going to completely redo that. I'm sorry, chat. I totally stuck my foot in my mouth thinking they were the rate up C. So there's not actually a rate up C for this. All right, we're going to start over the Kreimhild review. I'm sorry. That was an early enough in the video fuck up that I realized my mistake and went, I don't want to do that. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Kreimhild. She's going to be the newest single target berserker that's going to be coming to the game. She's single target arch. She's a really strong and highly valued unit for a lot of people. A lot of people are looking forward to rolling her. But we're going to go ahead and talk about what makes her strong and why you may or may not want to roll for her, particularly on this banner. So just to kind of start out here, Kreimhild is a story locked unit. I don't really recommend anybody roll the story gacha, so yes, if you want to go ahead and try to complete LB 6.5, aka Trom there, in order to unlock her, you certainly can, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you that the best time to roll Kreimhild is instead going to be actual devoted raid ups that she does have. And this isn't going to be the only raid up that she has this year, so you can go ahead and roll for her right during the Trom release, but you don't have to necessarily. One of the issues with this Trom release is basically that we are going to end up having Roland. I'm actually going to be reviewing him tomorrow with you guys on stream. He is a permanent unit and he's not a bad unit in and of his own right. But the issue at play here is that a lot of people just wanted Kreimhild and she is a story locked unit. So essentially you don't really have the odds of her spooking you outside of rolling the devoted raid up. The problem here is because you've got the 2 4-stars, it's a split rate up, and because of the pity system being in play now, there's no longer any rotational rate ups. What that means is that you're never going to have a day that you can roll Kreimhild on this banner where she will be the only rate up 4-star. So she's going to share the banner then at that point with Roland, and you're going to have to be careful if you just want her. That is to say, you might end up rolling and only get rolled instead, because that is going to be one of the problems that a lot of people are going to have with this banner. Now, maybe some of you are going to be rolling for Charlemagne as well. If that's the case, it's perfectly fine to roll here, but just consider your options, because obviously we don't have any rate up CEs here, but we do have a lotto coming later the year called the Chaldea Knight Fairy Cup, basically, or sorry, Chaldea Fairy Knight Cup. It may be called the Tamlin Cup or something like that on an A. I have no idea how they're going to change it, but regardless, you should be getting another banner, basically including Kreimhild. She should be paired right alongside Brynhildr Lancer, so if maybe she's another option for you, another unit that you had maybe had your eye on, you could definitely try to roll her here, as she will actually have a solo 4-star rate up. It should happen sometime around November for NA, so again, just look forward to it, as this would be an optimal time basically to roll just Kreimhild rather than taking your chances with a split rate up. But again, it's totally up to you, and it depends on what you want to do and what you want to target. There are also some really nice gacha CEs here. It is a lotto, so you're probably not going to care too much about the gacha CEs, because the predominant thing you're going to be wanting to take is going to be the currency drop for the actual lotto tickets. But again, there are some pretty decent ones, including Apex here, which is a fairly nice 5-star CE with all attack scaling. Buster up, 50% starting charge, and basically overcharge the NP by 2 stages 1 time. So definitely not bad in that regard. So again, up to you to determine where and how you wish to roll for Kreimhild. I am going to say, though, that at the end of the day, you're probably not going to care too much. If your entire goal is to just get Kreimhild, then you will. But for most people, she's just going to be a prize that they're probably going to get on their way to Charlie. It is up to you to determine how you want to handle that, though. Still, let's go ahead and talk about Kreimhild's actual kit here with you guys. So remember, she is a 4-star single target arts berserker. And interestingly enough, she does have over 10,000 attack power. As a 4-star, this is absolutely fantastic. This is what I love to see. This is the cream of the crop type of stuff. You can see, though, she definitely trades that for a rather anemic HP stat. She does not have a lot of HP to go around, so you're going to have to be careful in terms of trying to keep her alive. This is one of the issues that people will have with her, at least if you're using her with someone like, say, double Castoria type setups. You will certainly have at least 1 turn of invulnerability on her, so I highly recommend trying to utilize her kit in a way to be able to take advantage of that. But we'll have more to say about that in a minute. She does have Earth attribute as her primary attribute there, and basically 10-star absorption, which is right on the average for berserkers, and 4.9-star generation, which is a little bit under the average, again, just because she is an arts unit. Her NP charge attack rate is actually far below the average for most berserkers, but that's because most berserkers are triple buster type of units. She is an arts unit instead predominantly, so her NP charge rate is a little bit more scuffed in order to temper that some. But you're also going to see her refund is actually a major concern for her, and it's something I'm going to talk about with you guys as we get to that point when we get to the NP. But she at least does have ways of dealing with it. Her NP charge defense is higher than the overall average for the game, but certainly not for berserkers with the 5% NP charge defense there. And the 39% death rate here is a little bit higher than the average, but still okay. Just make sure that you're watching out if you are taking her into a death-prone situation. Her alignment is chaotic balanced, which is an interesting one, at least for having included balanced there. And she is female gendered. Her basic traits include hominid servant, humanoid, normal servant, 7 knight servant, and weak to anima elish. So really outside of servant and humanoid, not too much in the way of exploitable niches against her. And you can see here her overall deck includes 2 Buster, 2 Arts, and 1 Quick. All of her hit counts, including the extra card, are average with their amounts. So definitely not too much to say here. She will be able to have at least 2 Buster cards for hitting decently hard, and she will at least have the 2 Arts cards for forming a triple arch chain in conjunction with her NP. And that is going to be something we're going to bring up again in a minute, but certainly it is at least nice that she has the second arts card. Taking a look at her active skills here, you can see the first one reduces all enemies' NP gauge by 1, reduces their defense for 3 turns, and reduces their critical attack chance for 3 turns, basically with the last 2 effects there scaling up to 20% on a 6-turn cooldown. Really, the only remarkable thing about this is that it's going to increase the amount of damage you're doing to enemies for 3 turns and essentially drain the entire enemy's gauges by 1. Certainly, it's not going to charge her here, but I think this was somewhat done in conjunction to keep her in line with a unit like, say, Vlad Berserker, because he is himself basically a stall-oriented vampire type of Berserker. So I think it was done to kind of help her as a 4-star keep pace a little. Her second skill here is going to be an increase to her Arts and Buster performance each for 3 turns of up to 30%, and basically increase her own damage against chaotic alignment enemies for 3 turns up to 50%. So she does have a 3-turn power mod in here, which means that's not only going to impact her NP, but also her card performance. So definitely nice if you actually have something that is chaotic alignment to beat on. Normally, this is going to be just things like servants, but who knows, maybe you do find the occasional odd enemy that's not just classified as that might have it. Either way, this is going to make her a pretty effective servant killer, especially if the enemy is chaotic. So it is another feather in her cap for increasing her damage output. It's going to end up being all on a 6-turn cooldown at max rank. And then we get to her third skill here. This is a taunt basically for 1 turn. And it's going to draw the attention of all enemies, obviously, as taunt does, and then charges her own NP gauge by 50% while healing her by 3,000. So you're going to want to be very selective about how you use this skill. This is why I said trying to use this in conjunction with someone like, say, Castoria, you may wish to time this on the turn that you actually give her Castoria's arts buff. Or again, maybe on a turn where you NP with Castoria. With her relatively low HP stat, you do not want Kreimhild getting beaten to death. So certainly if we're just taking out a single enemy in a single wave in the middle of a farming node, this isn't a huge concern. But the second we start talking boss battles and story, or maybe challenge content, you realize that the enemy is probably going to be able to hit back. And at that point, you need to be very careful with the turn that you actually use this taunt on. Therefore, I do highly recommend trying to have some form of hard defense to help protect Kreimhild in the party. You can see, having already gone through all 3 of her skills, she really does not have anything in her kit to protect herself. So she is the epitome of a glass cannon. She will hit hard for you, but she will not be able to take a punch. So be very, very careful with how you bring her into the party and who you sort of accommodate her with. Again, though, the 3000 heal can be strong. It might get her out of the danger zone if she's already taken a little bit of damage, but just be careful with it. All of this also on a 6-turn cooldown. And you can basically see that, again, at this point, she has the capability of increasing her buster cards with her passive skill. Interestingly enough, they gave her the EX rank, and basically that increases her own buster performance by 12%. So it is rather nice. It is strong, but it's also kind of meant to be there in order to augment an arts-focused berserker. That is to say, her main attraction is not her buster cards, so they felt the need to buff it up just a little bit more. So again, certainly you're not going to be taking, in most cases, an actual buster buff on her. Someone like, say, Oberon or something like that, you might, or maybe even Merlin if you're trying to protect her, but normally you're probably not going to do it. She does at least have the buster up in her kit, but again, it is just meant to kind of help that performance out a little bit more. As you guys can see, basically mana loading is obviously going to be a thing for her. I do highly recommend it on Kreimhild, if only for the fact that you're probably going to wish to squeeze out every little bit of charge that you can in order to potentially help her work from a lesser amount of starting charge, or again, even as low as potentially 0%. But there are going to be some concerns with that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Obviously, the first skill here is going to be extra attack finesse improvement. This is going to be my second recommendation, or possibly my first, for using her in more of a challenge environment. But I still think the mana loading is probably the better way to go. It just depends on, again, your mentality on the game and how you see yourself using her. And then the third skill here is anti-saber critical attack chance resistance. I'm not the hugest fan of the third append, basically, for just about any berserker. This one could be okay. It's at least one of the 7 knight classes that one of the 7 main classes that you're going to see on the regular. So it may be to your benefit, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it may just be utterly useless to you. I'm going to say, think about it from the standpoint of it's just one class. So if any other class attempts to crit her, she's not protected in this way. To me, especially with a story-locked 4-star, you're going to have a hard time getting enough coins for her anyways. To me, this is the easy one to leave out and to not do if you're trying to get the other 2 appends and maybe even considering grailing her to something like, say, 120. So again, this one, to me, not really worth. Her Noble Phantasm is a 4-hit single target NP. It is basically going to be, again, arts, so you're going to get a little bit of refund with it. It's going to remove one enemy's defensive buffs activating first, which, again, you can see sort of the laundry list of buffs there. Just to kind of help you guys understand, this will be before damage, but this will not include things that are restorative. So it's just going to be defensive buffs, aka not things like healing or, again, guts. That's the thing to watch out for, is if an enemy has guts, like, Kreimhild's not going to be able to do anything about it, other than maybe break and pop the guts and then have you, able to mop up on the back end. But still, just be careful with that. Regardless, being able to defensive buff strip is always a really, really strong ability, so it's definitely something worth having Kreimhild for, depending on your current loadout of your account. She deals damage to the enemy at that point, and then deals 150% super effective damage to anyone that is dragon related. This is going to make her sort of a go-to single target nuke for dragon enemies. We do have some pretty insane scaling off of units like Siegfried, but ultimately it's up to you to determine if that's the route you want to go. Again, this is still going to be very strong for her in the right set of circumstances. It's going to make her quite the dragon killer. You can see her overcharge effect is also going to reduce the target's art's resistance for 3 turns by a minimum of 20%, and it will scale with overcharge. So ultimately, at the end of the day, this is not going to be super useful if you're just looping through a 1-1-1 type of node, but this will be very useful if you're having to hit an enemy with break bars, because this is just going to keep stacking over multiple turns. And it's not just going to increase damage, it's also going to increase refund of the NP and potentially arts cards used. So it is a really, really nice thing for her to have. So what did I mean when I said her refund was a concern? Let's go ahead and let's talk about that. In a double Castoria scenario against a neutral enemy, and this is kind of a hard sell because you're not really going to have too many neutral enemies with a Berserker. Basically just shielders, and you don't fight shielders very often. Essentially, the neutral number. So it could be better or worse than this number at this point, basically, for refund. You're going to be looking at, with 1 hit of overkill, meaning you killed the enemy or popped its bar, you're going to be looking at, with double Castoria, 26%. This is not a good refund number. Now, that being said, it's actually not as bad as most people would think. Most of your single target refunders don't refund to full. In fact, most of them require some form of charge or, again, card support in order to be able to do it. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst out there. It just is. So again, you're going to have to treat this as this is the amount that you're reasonably capable of getting. If you manage to get more, you might be able to get to that 30% marker. At 4 out of 4 overkill hits, you can only get as high as 35% though. So you're really not moving too many places. So it will require you to be able to kill with quite a bit of her existing damage for that to be the case in order to get to that second overkill hit. But certainly it may be possible if you have a strong Kreimhild or the enemy's health is low. Either way, the whole point would be that you're not going to fully refund off of the back end of Kreim's NP without some form of carding help. And I did want to talk about that because we do have scenarios basically where you might be able to start Kreimhild from 0. The problem is it requires essentially an entire chain of Kreimhild's cards. So not just the arts NP, but basically either quicken arts or double quick in order to actually get enough refund for her to get back to full without some sort of external charge support to help her out. And this is already considering using things like double Castoria. So depending on how you want to use it, it may be a case of you don't necessarily wish to start from 0 with Kreim. You absolutely can if you're just trying to one-shot an enemy, or you might, still want to take your chances just depending on the fight. Maybe you're up against an enemy that's going to be doing a lot of hits, and they're going to give Kreimhild a lot of charge with that NP charge defense. It may be possible, just make sure that you have some way of keeping your Kreimhild alive, because again, remember, she is going to be very squishy. Now, with that in mind, I can recommend to you something like Black Grail as a solution for a CE that you would use. It's obviously the strongest, sort of NP damage CE in the game, and it's really going to benefit someone like Kreimhild, who also has super effective modifier and potentially even other things like power mod in her kit. The issue at play, though, is, like I said, conventionally, you're not going to be able to start her from 0 if you're trying to 3-turn with her. You're going to need some carding help, some carding luck. That may fall your way, but it might not fall your way until, say, the 3rd turn. You might get both her arts cards on the 3rd turn where it's too late and you didn't get enough refund. So that will be rolling the dice. You will have to be a little bit careful with things like that. But remember, there's always the option of attempting to brute force Kreimhild's charge. That's where something like Ocean Flyer is going to come real in handy for you, because starting around at 50% is probably the recommended way that we're going to recommend to you guys to try and use her in the span of a normal 3-turn environment. Again, maybe you're not 3-turning, maybe you're just trying to one-shot, so this is the recommendation, but obviously it can change. There is also going to be other things like starting out from 0, but maybe giving her a little bit extra. We could try to go with things like Sign of a Smiling Face or even Royal Icing, which is at least a welfare. The problem with these sorts of things is you're still going to need cards. This will not be enough to make her not. So at that point, it might lessen the burden, but it's not going to completely erase it. So either way, these would help her, these would be beneficial to her, but it might not be the best option for you. We don't have to recommend her an Invuln Pierce CE since she basically has Invuln Pierce with her NP since it can buff strip. Be careful about going into challenge fights with her where maybe the boss or enemy has some sort of unremovable buff as a break bar mechanic or just a condition of the fight. If that's the case, understand that the defensive buff removal will not apply, and then you're still going to have to find some way of giving her that Invuln Pierce, but otherwise it shouldn't be a concern most of the time for you. Let's go ahead and talk about basically one of the charge scenarios here with Kreimhild. So this is actually going to be 2 times Castoria with an Oberon against a neutral enemy. So you guys can see there's your 2 times Castorias, there's your Oberon, here's your Kreimhild. We're going to start her out with her append and basically a 50% CE. That's going to basically put her at 70% to begin the node already. Then from there, we're going to go ahead and use both Castoria's arts ups, essentially use one of the Castoria 30% charges, and that'll be enough to bring her up to full. From there, go ahead and fire off the NP. At that point, she's going to refund about 16%. Not ideal, really. But who knows, maybe in such a way you would already end up needing 90%. So maybe you might actually have the capability of leaving one of the arts buffs from Castoria off. And the only reason that I say that is if your Kreimhild can still kill, then you would have another arts buff basically to include potentially at a turn where you might actually utilize her 50% charge and her taunt. But certainly using it on turn 3, also a way to kind of not have to care. If you're in a 3 turn, you don't have to care too much about the taunt getting her killed because you're going to kill the enemy basically before it ever has the chance to act at that point. But again, really depends on the circumstances. Either way, as long as you can get at least the 10% charge here, you're going to then go ahead and utilize one of the Oberon 20% right there, and then essentially the remaining 20% from Castoria and the remaining 50% from the other Castoria. Either way, it's going to get you 90% charge, get you up to full, have her fire off the NP one more time, and then basically she'll refund a little bit north of 25%. Really, you don't care because you have her 50% charge and Oberon's 50% charge at that point, so you can make it work. The interesting thing about this is, as long as you have a unit that can split charge, that is at least a 50% charger, you should be capable of doing this. This does mean that you don't have to use Oberon, and you might be able to get away with using someone like, say, either Castoria, obviously, or potentially Waver or Reigns could also work as a third support for you. Either way, it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but this is just a proof of concept of how you could loop with her with a 50% C. The problem is, if we take out the 50% C, as you guys can see, you're just definitely not going to have enough. Even though we are overkill literally by a good almost 30% at that point, you're still going to be lacking some. So you're going to need cards in order to help make up for it, and it would need to happen on the right turns in order for that to be useful. So again, it really just depends on what you're trying to do. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Kreimhild's self-buff damage. This is neutral damage, basically her own power. So no external buffs from craft essences, mystic codes, or a support caster or anything like that. Just her own damage in a neutral environment. And in P1, you're looking at about 40k neutral, which remember, as a Berserker, you're going to get at least that 1.5 times modifier. So definitely going to go north from there. And really at NP2, you can already see a significant bump up and even 67k by NP5. You've obviously got the chaotic power mod and the dragon super effective modifiers, and then the potential to double dip and get both, but it is going to require very specific servants probably for that to be the case. But that is just an estimate of her sort of own damage. Now let's check her out basically in a scenario in which she basically has full firepower. So this is going to be a Ocean Flyer, Neo Plug Suit, Oberon, 2 times Castoria, and basically kind of her still working in that neutral setup. So at NP1 here, you can see we're pretty much capping out at about 300k by wave 3. With the chaotic power mod, you're going to be capping out at about 366k. And then basically with the super effective dragon modifier, 450k. Already, you do have the possibility of combining it, and that's going to end up getting you all the way up to like basically 549k at that point. So really a decent amount of damage out of Kreimhild. You can see the sheer amount of scalability here as pretty much NP1 with no steroid compared to NP1 with both niches coming into play. She is looking at essentially a huge increase, almost a doubling of her damage. So really a lot of firepower and scalability there. At NP2, you're looking at about 400k basically, and then 488k with the chaotic power mod and 601k with dragon, the whopping 731 with both. This is definitely going to be really nice damage for her, and these are actually going to be the numbers that I'm going to recommend most of you try to do if you're trying to make your Kreimhild stronger than NP1 of a lot of the other SSR berserkers. Now, it still in some cases might not be at face value stronger, but it would at least make it in the case of, like, say, having dragon super effective stronger. And what do I mean by that? Well, certainly we have the damage scaling all the way up to NP5 here for you guys. You can see it's pretty strong, but we do also have comparisons to her contemporaries in the class. So you guys can see here is Vlad's damage, basically another single target berserker that's been in the game for a long time. He's gotten a ton of upgrades over the years. Vlad at least has the benefit of being reasonably loopable and having really good refund. So he can kind of just go ahead and start with a Black Grail as long as you have this setup. And taking a look at that, you can see already right there at NP1, you're looking at 618k, almost 619. So Vlad doesn't end up having things like a power modifier or anything like that to help expand his damage, but he definitely has some good capability and just refundability. So in that regard, if you're somebody that just already has a copy of Vlad, you probably don't need to roll Kreimhild. This is why I said it may be in your interest to roll her or maybe not, and it really just depends. Kreimhild is a very strong unit, but in order to make her outperform some of the other like SSRs, you're probably going to need multiple MP levels. I'm not going to tell you you have to roll multiple MP levels. It's just if you want her to be stronger. So again, you can keep her at NP1. She'll still be a good unit and still do good damage for you. She just might not be stronger than, I don't know, that Vlad you've got sitting over in the second archive or something. And then we also end up having another comparison here with Galatea. Galatea, as you guys can see, is another arts unit. She's got the interesting issue of a triple buster deck, but they did the devs basically did kind of come through and actually end up buffing that deck, giving her 10% charge every time she uses the buster cards, and that definitely helped her usability out. You can see she comes in a little bit under Vlad at NP1, but these are still these 600k numbers that we were already talking about. So you guys can see how basically you're only going to hit that at NP2 within Dragon Niche, or again, maybe even knocking on the door at 500k at NP5 of Kreimhild. So this is where it really does matter to use Kreimhild in the right circumstances as well. So if you're looking for just a decent all-rounder, some of these other SSRs may be a better option for you. We do have a unit like Kentucky Berserker that's been around a long time as well. And honestly, he's someone that is also mired in this need to use a 50% CE. So he's a much more comparable unit, as it's going to be using 2 times Koyanskaya of Light with Oberon and a level 100 cranking. You can see here he's only going to kind of peak out a little shy of 500k at NP1. So he would be a much more interesting comparison for someone like Kreimhild, because he doesn't have that upper limit like basically some of the arts units do. Granted, again, the arts units have at this point either are much newer or have gotten more love than him, so it's kind of understandable how much damage they can pump. We do also have someone like Hijikata, and again, I assume this actually doesn't include his low HP memes, but you can see just at base value here, starting him out with cranking, he can also kind of hit that 500k number. But if we can get him lower, this number actually begins to oh, it does include his lower. Okay, sorry. I was gonna say the number would actually skyrocket, but yes, apparently this does actually include his low HP memes, so this is his true number, basically, with you managing to kind of get him down. But either way, at that point, there's still quite a bit of damage scalability there. Next up, we have MHXA. She's going to end up being basically a another like single target berserker for you, but she's going to be our first quick option here. And you can see again at NP1, definitely. Oh, sorry, this is Penth. My bad. I thought this was MHXA. Basically, we end up having at this point essentially double Koyanskaya, 2 times Oberon, a level 100 K scope, and Neo Plug Suit. And you can see here, Penth is someone that is gonna definitely suffer by the need to use that K scope. She's somebody that basically is going to have quite a bit of party-wide buffs and at least a crazy amount of damage that she could stack with anti-Greek Male. But outside of that, the damage is going to be very middling. Just an NP1 Kreimhild would pretty much be comparable or potentially better depending on the circumstances. So again, just kind of scrolling you back over here, you can see NP1 Kreimhild's right in that same ballpark with the upward scalability. She also is a glass cannon, so it is a pretty fair comparison, but obviously you do have some pretty crazy scalability with someone like Penth. The advantage Penth is going to end up having, though, is the fact that Penth is a long-time already released unit and a permanent unit at that, so you may just have more copies of her. Basically, we also end up having someone like Summer Jalter, and that is kind of going to be, again, another one that I think a lot of people will compare to just because they actually have this one. She is a welfare. Everybody kind of should have her if they were, available in the actual like event, if they were actually playing during that time. You guys can see Summer Jalter basically with 2 times Oberon, which is going to be the requirement here, with a K-scope, is going to deal a ton of damage on wave 3. Just not so much in the like early phases. And the big reason for that is trying to 3-turn with her. You're going to have to use that double Oberon, which is not going to give you very much firepower without that 3rd skill. So it is what it is, but again. Next up here, we do have the actual MHXA stats here. And this is basically going to be Summer Scotty with 2 times Oberon as well and a level 100 K scope. You can see, though, MHXA is the beneficiary of just kind of having already her NP interlude. This is going to be 370k basically on wave 3. She's got the good and saber niches that both come into play, scaling her up quite a bit more, and even the potential to double them up, which is fairly common amongst sabers. So certainly some crazy damage capability there, and definitely something that you would start to need quite a bit of copies of Kreimhild in order to get more. And then last but certainly not least, the one you've probably been waiting for, we have the most recent comparison that we can give you on JP. This is going to be Summer Castoria. So again, in order to 3-turn a Summer Castoria, you basically just end up needing 2 times normal Castoria and Oberon. So using Zerktoria, as I like to call her, NP1, you're already looking at 500k. This is definitely some good numbers, and she definitely has anti-chaotic and anti-divine niches, basically scaling her up to 615. This can go even higher, though, because you can double stack them, so certainly some crazy damage there. And then, yes, you could see she also has super effective modifiers that start making the damage get dumb. So if you've got your eye on someone like Summer Castoria down the line, you probably don't need to roll Kreimhild. Though maybe you just need someone to tie you over in the interim, or maybe you just really like Kreimhild and don't care about Summer Castoria. If that's the case, you're more than welcome to roll her. Again, Kreimhild is not a bad unit. Her anti-chaotic and anti-dragon niches do come into play fairly often and are very valuable when they work. So certainly don't overlook her. but it's up to you to determine whether or not you see yourself needing her and which banner you wish to roll on. I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts as to which one you will be going after her for, and again, whether or not you will actually roll for her in light of some of the other upcoming units that compete with her. I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. I will see you guys for the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Later. Oh, you killed me so bad on that. Oh, you killed me so bad. I literally looked over, I read the line, pulled it out, and it was Penth. I'm just gonna have to like apologize for that one because I am not redoing that entire video. So that you guys are aware, like basically in the DMs with Avalon, like he labels it like hey, here's Hijikata's number. And it was like, oh. So like I see, oh hey, here's MHXA's number, pull it open, Penth. And then I look, the one beneath it is Penth, and it was Jalter. I went like, ah, shit. I better actually read before I say anything. Her skill 3 taunt is targetable, by the way. Yeah, I saw chat saying that. Draw the attention of all allies to one ally. Thank you. I didn't end up saying it. It is, and you could use this to get someone killed, and I probably should have talked about it, but it's also only one turn, and it's unlikely that, you know, the squishy berserker isn't going to get killed, but the other one might. Still, you're right. I definitely should have said something. Think before you action, Cad. No, I like this sort of thing is an issue, but it's still on me. Like Avalon's helping me out, so I take full responsibility. I like it's flustering when it happens in the moment, but like after the fact, I'm like, God damn it. Like it's funny to me, basically. You played it off well, at least. Unfortunately, I've had to do that too many times. Either through like some sort of like issue of my own or like, I don't know, like something happening, right? You use cream skill on Constantine after he NPs? No, you use cream skill on your level 1 Constantine that you didn't level up. This will be a funny vid. Yeah, probably. Okay, so that was the Kreimhild review, chat. Let's take a look at all this hullabaloo with account linking. SL the Pyro, thank you for the follow. Welcome. This is also the issue of like doing one cut takes and stuff like that, and like just never like doing anything else. Okay. So let's see. We've got account linking. And this is in Japanese. So there is a little bit of a language barrier here, chat. You have to be careful with this. So this was the breaking news that they had today. Basically, from this point onward, it is now possible to link accounts between Aniplex Online and Fate Grand Order, provided by Aniplex. Just so that you don't forget who did this, who you should be thanking for this, chat, it is Aniplex in all caps. By linking your accounts, you will be able to transfer the Fate Grand Order data using your Aniplex Online account during your data transfer. Oh joy. I am so happy that they take me straight to the Aniplex page. I'm going to chalk this one up to they've never done this before, because you should have absolutely sent me to the appropriate page and not to the base page of Aniplex. But given the fact that this is Aniplex, I expect nothing less, because they definitely need to let you know that there's Demon Slayer and Windbreaker, and oh, hey, look at that. Here's news about their IPs, and oh, look, Bochi's a rock. Merch. So, yeah, it's Aniplex. I fully expect them to shill their merch. Wonder why those services are piggybacking off of. Yeah, I wonder why. It's almost like they're trying to like funnel you through this. Lemonade Master, thank you for the 27. Appreciate it. You do that through the in-game My Room menu for a simple Aniplex account? Sure. I'm just kind of like going through it and kind of showing you guys. Because again, like I want to lay my eyes on all of this. So you can see, yep, they're basically saying like, hey, look here. If you go actually here in the My Room, again, I can't read this word. I'm going to assume this is based off the picture. Second from the bottom. So at that point, you know, you kind of know what to hit. Just don't hit the wrong buttons. But you can see they're basically going to end up giving you the ability to create a simple account. It looks like that. And I love that they used images. I hate you, Aniplex. Why would you do this? Because again, you can't Google Translate an image. But essentially, it looks like it's telling you to input the data. I assume it's going to be probably your account number and or email is probably what it is. And that's going to get you a simple account. And this is going to kind of take the place of being your transfer code from now on. So you can see it also says data linked to Aniplex online accounts can be transferred to other devices without using a transfer number. Chat, I want you to take everything that you're excited about, and I want you to immediately just go, this is just a transfer number in a different form. Basically, all it is now instead of having to use a transfer number, you can bind to your account online, at least to my understanding, and it's just going to take the place of your transfer number. But it still acts like a transfer number in the sense that you can't have your your account on multiple devices still. So there's that. The downside is it's still kind of just as bad as the old system. The upside is it's probably still easier to transfer, and because it's bound to a website, to a registered account, you don't have to fear losing your account. You could always restore and do it that way, but you're going to have to be careful. Basically, accounts can't be transferred or can be transferred without using a transfer number, so a transfer number cannot be issued. In other words, once you link your account, no more transfer numbers. Any transfer number you had is defunct. It's gone. It's kaput. Transfer number is issued before the linkage cannot be used. Loose. I like that. In other words, it's gone. It's lost. If you would like to issue a transfer number and transfer data, please cancel the account linkage from account linkage in My Room and follow the on-screen instructions. Again, if you're on the NA side of things, you don't speak a lick of Japanese, be very careful about trying to do something like this, because obviously there's going to be instructions and it's probably not going to be the simplest, like just press buttons type of thing. Just be careful. And like I said, honestly, if you're going to go ahead and link your account, you shouldn't ever really need to unlink it. I have seen some fears about what if they purge all, accounts that are outside of Japan. I don't think they're going to do that. Chat, they've known for years that they have accounts outside of Japan. They had GPS tracking at one point in the game. They had various other things like the survey by which they could kind of use to tell. They don't really care. They're making money off of you. They're not going to try to get rid of you. You are a legitimate player in their eyes. Okay. And then you can see here, basically, this is, I guess, more instructions. I don't know. I can't read any of this, so I'm just going to not try to lie to you guys. And then, hey, if you have any questions regarding data transfer, please contact the inquiry desk. So this is basically going to be your help desk. It is what it is, but yeah, again, if it's in Japanese, highly recommend reading a guide before you ever do anything like that. I am somewhat curious to see if there's an actual, okay, so here you go, the notice. on their site. Be possible to link the smartphone RPG Fate Grand Order account with the Aniplex Online account by linking your accounts. You'll be able to use your Aniplex Online account to transfer your Fate Grand Order data. And that's all they give. So I'm actually just wondering, because I know this is the chat, this is the elaborate version, right? Like there's two versions. There's the simple version that they talk about, like basically here, right? Where you're doing it kind of in game. But then there's the complex one where you have a like sophisticated paid for Aniplex account, right? So where do I go for that? Because I want to see that. Full is on the website. Well, I'm on the website. So where do I go? Click on account. Log in, register, I guess. Okay, yep, this definitely looks like the thing. So register a new Aniplex Online account. That'd be what you would do. You would need an email address. I believe Trubs went through this. He actually signed up for it. If you're gonna do stuff like this, I don't know. Let's just go ahead and fill in my streamer account for right this second. I'm not gonna do anything, chat. Okay, new member registration. I sent an email. We sent you an email. Basically, go to the site top page. If you're using email spam protection, please configure your settings. Okay, so I don't know that I want to get into this because this will probably start including actual stuff, but from everything I've heard, it's sort of like setting up a Japanese iTunes account. You're going to end up needing, obviously, an email address. You're going to end up needing some sort of like fake Japanese address if you don't actually live in Japan. This is where like things get hard if you're not actually in Japan. You're going to end up needing to like come up with some stuff. People use various things like, actual like physical addresses of landmarks in Japan and stuff like that. As long as it fits their like parameters and it's a actual address as far as they can tell, they don't really seem to check. It's never like they're going to mail you something or anything like that. I don't know, maybe if you want a sweepstakes or something, but at that point, maybe go to Japan. And again, so it's like you don't really have to worry too much about it. I'm sticking with bind codes for now, linking stuff to JP only. Junk is wonky most of the time. Yeah, and I'm going to say this. You don't have to do this, chat. It's absolutely your prerogative to do it. I will say, if you're on the fence, give it some time. But eventually, you guys should all probably go ahead and use this. And the reason why is I'm saying it's okay to be skeptical. It's okay to wait and see if JP does anything. But binding your account to something that is not a transfer code, that is not your phone, is safer in the end. Okay? Even if you got to give them like some, I don't know, some burner email or some fake info or something like that. It's still going to end up being safer than, oops, tee-hee, I dropped my phone, bricked it, can't get the SIM card out, get no info off of it. My account is permanently lost. Okay? Because I've seen it time and time again where people thought their transfer codes worked and then they suddenly didn't, and then they could not access it and they had to go get help. And in some cases, they did get help. In other cases, they got told by support, like, hey, this account wasn't originally yours. Hey, this, we can't verify that it's your account. And so for whatever reason, they ended up losing it. And I'm not going to say that's going to happen to you, but I am going to tell you it's probably a safer thing to actually have a bind point. This is something that people have been asking for a while, as some sort of binding to social media or a website, some sort of account system. So again, this is something I think eventually everyone should do, but while it is new, while it is fresh, take your time with it. If you don't want to do it just yet, it's perfectly okay. I don't blame any of you, okay? Unless the beta server. Yeah, and this will probably at some point come to NA. We'll just have to see kind of how it's done. I'm going to give it a week or two to see if they fuck with the NA players. Yeah, I don't think they are. And I'm dead serious. We've never really seen them do it. Most of these sorts of fears are usually just fears. It's usually just people saying stuff on like Reddit or Twitter and being like, I don't know, man, they might do something. They've never actually done anything. Usually the only people getting banned are people that are like, doing some sort of third party manipulation with like account trading or selling, or like, basically some sort of RMT exchanges. Those are usually the only one. I understand, if you're operating on an emulator or something like that, you might have concern. I still don't think they're gonna care. We've had people doom and gloom for years about like, oh, they're gonna get rid of emulators, they're gonna remove them. They never really have. They have had updates that have broken emulators for a while, but that was not Aniplex or Lasingle trying to do that on purpose. It was just they had to update the game, and for a while, until there was an adjusting patch on the emulator side of things, things were broken. So. And remember, guys, I'm proof of this as somebody that literally has been playing on JP. They haven't done anything against the two main FGO TOS platforms also. Yeah, I mean, like, and we'll see. I will agree with you on that. It's probably far more likely they were to crack down on people like trying to like hook into the servers and stuff first. Okay, so Avalon apparently did a bunch of testing this morning as well. Basically, I'm going to read you guys some of it. So, again, yes, after registering an online account, you can go to your My Room and bind it that way. So, again, that's the simplified version. You can transfer your account to another device using the Aniplex account instead of a transfer code. While your account is bound to an Aniplex account, you won't be able to issue a transfer code. So in other words, that will be your method of restoration. So basically it'll be that way until you unlink it, should you so choose. That would be the only other way to get transfer codes back, and your old transfer code at that point would be void. Basically just replaces it essentially with an actual account to log in. So, and then Avalon did a bunch of tests, and he said there's two types of registered accounts, which again, when this was all breaking, they didn't realize there were two. They just thought there was the online version. One's the simple one, which could be registered in the My Room section, and the other is the full Aniplex account that you can get by registering on the main website. It also has access to their shop, for which you'll need a Japanese address and such. I will say this, Avalon didn't put this in here, but they did say in the initial announcement that the website here, the Aniplex like store, if you will, that they were in the future going to expand the capabilities of this. I don't know what that means. I can come up with some ideas. I can say what I think might happen, but obviously no one's going to know until they actually do it. So again, just keep that in mind, that there may be in the future like more features for doing the online version, and that shouldn't surprise any of you, because again, it's Aniplex, and they're gonna want you to go ahead and like get on their main merchandising platform. So that's what their entire goal with a lot of this probably is. It's to provide you, the player, with something you've asked for, but also for them to get a little bit of a like, hey, now we get a bump up in our advertising numbers, and people actually, being traffic on our website. So, okay. And he goes on to say that, let's see. Yeah, you'll need a Japanese address and stuff for the full one. The simple Aniplex account cannot log in normally to the actual Aniplex website. So if you guys are bound that way, you do not have an account on the actual Aniplex website. However, you can still change your password for the account via the reset password page there for even simple accounts. It'll send you an email with a link to change it. So basically what that's saying is, let me go over here, right? Click on this again. Let me translate it for you guys. So you guys can see, right? There's probably going to be... So interestingly enough, there's a link to Japanese Amazon. I wouldn't do that unless you somehow manage to have an account. But yeah, so right here, basically you could put in your email address, and if you can't get your password at that point, you could say, hey, forgot password. It'll probably ask you for the email address again, and it will shoot you an email. So even though you don't have a account here on this website, or here that you can log into, you could still tell them forgot password and get it that way. So that would be another way. But just understand, usually the way forgot password works is it resets your password. So I have no idea if it's going to make it so that you can use the same one again, or if it's going to force you to change it. If you're logged into your bound account on a device and change the password via the Aniplex website by resetting it, then you won't get kicked out of your account that is logged in. The game still keeps the account files on your device and thus keeps you logged in without an issue. This is a really interesting thing because you guys know that I've been playing on multiple devices for years due to cloning my device. And that is definitely something that you can do if you have the capability with, like, a smartphone or something like that. But you still cannot play both at the same time. If you are playing on one and you're in a node on another, it will kick you out. So be very careful with that. But in this set of circumstances, you can't. You can't play on multiple devices. If you try to log into the other device, it will say you have transferred to another device and you can't play on that one. It won't get rid of the FGO files on your device. It just won't let you play on it. So you cannot play on multiple devices if you do this. Once you bind your account, the transfer code method will be deactivated until the binding is undone. You will need to issue a new transfer code after unbinding your account, as the old one will be gone. It's kind of what we were saying before. When you try and log into a new device, it'll send you an email with a 6-digit code that expires after 30 minutes. So this is actually a really good thing too, because it's also account security. It doesn't happen too much nowadays from everything I've seen, but originally when FGO was first popping off and really popular, there were quite a bit of hacked accounts going around. And like basically people were getting their entire, like in some cases like iTunes and Google Play accounts hacked just so that people could get access to the account. Nowadays, not as big of an issue, but certainly, again, it's at least nice that you have that security feature. Transferring an account via the new account system will still act as a transfer and not just logging in. By that I mean you cannot officially play on multiple devices with this new method. It'll give you a pop-up on the old device saying you transferred devices if you try and open the app after logging in to the new one. But basically, okay, so he's saying he basically ended up helping for test for Reddit because apparently there were a ton of people trying to figure it out. So again, you guys can thank Avalon for doing the legwork on all of that. Let me see. Because I haven't like actually played on multiple devices in a hot second. And my old phone is actually still here. I'm gonna unplug my charger real quick and plug that in. Hopefully this charges my old phone real fast. I'm gonna have to get it like updated, but essentially I want to test this. I want to see if I can get it to actually work here. Okay, sorry, that's an A. Wrong server. As there appeared to be some misinformation going around. Yeah, and I don't blame you. I think it's really good. It's like I said, it's why I did not want to speak about it before I knew about it. It won't send you an email as a confirmation or something, but it does create an account. Interesting. I wonder if you can convert a simple account into a full Aniplex account. Did you guys ever try that? The music's so much trauma. Yeah. That I don't know. Yeah. That may be a reason to hold off for right now. I can see it. Can you try? So like this is the new feature. No, that's my That's my actual transfer code. So hold on, chat. Change it quickly. I already did. No one saw anything. Yeah, it's fine. You update the app, you need to update the app. I literally like pressed it as soon as I saw. I was like, no. Okay. I have to like tend to the new transfer code chat, so that's why like all of this is happening right now. Just making sure I have it so that I don't lose it. Okay. Yeah, gotta love scares like that. That's like out of everything on stream, the one thing that you should never show is that, right? So chat, you guys are saying I don't have it updated, which is wild because I definitely updated it this morning. But I don't know if there's been a more recent update or you need to go manually update it. Yeah. Give me a second here. Um Also, so that doesn't happen again. Let me take a look at it. Okay, so that's the actual terminology here. Yeah, Not what I'm seeing. So let me update the game. It's got to download, so just give it a second. Chad, do you guys know if you guys know if oh Jesus. If the game still works on iPhone 6? Okay, that might take a minute. I'm updating my old phone. And now I have to have both phones. Okay, that's downloading. Let's plug this back in. Random Fool, thank you for the follow. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go check. Like literally, if it's if the kanji says this, I don't even know if this is kanji, but like if the kanji says that, then I know I've updated, right? Okay, definitely something happened because I don't know what this means, but let me see if I can click out of it. No, it won't let me. Terms of service. I'm just gonna hit OK. That log me in. Okay. I saw some people delete their accounts instead. You literally have to hit the slide button. How? It like, y'all should know if the game is asking you to do the like slide lock thing, it's something serious. Don't just press that. Like, that is impressively dumb. That's not just you clicked on a wrong button. That's you kept clicking on the wrong button, not knowing what you were doing. Okay, so it is here. I definitely see it. Um, and I can't read any of that. So hold on. Oh, these kind of things with the guide because I don't trust myself. Oh yeah, I don't blame you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that that is email and password based off this. That's login, yeah. There's a button below the page you just got? What do you mean? Middle button? You're saying this? Sorry, this? Okay. Email, password. I don't know what that one is. Yeah, I know he did, Louise. I also know he also had to correct himself afterwards. Which I don't think made it into the video. Top is login, middle is register, bottom was password reset for the last page. Okay. Email and 2 times password. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then yeah. So then this is definitely not hard then. It's literally just, you know, you got to update. You got to come down here to the bottom, come right here, click the button. It's going to take it a second to load. You're going to come down here, click the white button, come in here, fill in your email address right here, fill in your password right here, and then basically fill in your password again for confirmation purposes, which is not hard. And then I assume it's literally going to be click this because this is back. So really easy, chat. I'm not going to do it with you guys here on stream. You guys aren't going to see my login credentials, but there's that. I already had one mess up tonight. I don't need chat seeing the rest of it, right? But yeah, I did want to at least walk through that with you guys. And that would be the easy way to do the simplified one. Like I said, I don't know if I'll do it just yet. Because I kind of want to like see. And this is still taking its sweet time updating. So I'm not going to be able to test it with the second phone anyways. No rush to do it yet. Yeah, like I said. Will you be going with email binding for JP yourself? Probably. Like I said, everyone's really concerned about like, oh, I might get banned, right? Like, oh, I might lose my account. Chat, if something like that happens, it was going to happen regardless. And I'm dead serious. If it wasn't this, it was going to be something else, right? But I know nobody wants that to happen, but I'm also going to say those fears are largely unfounded. We really don't see that being a thing historically. The Japanese devs have not ever tried to once remove anybody from overseas. It is literally just a case that a lot of people get like in a tizzy about it. The simple version is probably for us Westerners, as we don't have a Japanese address, etc. Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think you're going to see this come to an A. It's probably going to be through Aniplex of America's website instead, but it's probably going to be largely the same thing because whatever coding they used here is going to be a thing. And here's the other interesting thing, chat. I guess in theory, they don't have to give you an update. They don't have to give you a feature. But this is now in the code of the game. This is a button in the My Room. Expect this to come to NA. If for no other reason than they already had to do the code work for it, right? If this were just an external site type thing, it might not ever. But because they actually put this in the game, I assume this is going to be a thing. Now, and that is another thing I want to be clear on. NA largely shares the same code with JP. China, Korea, the other servers, not necessarily, though mostly the same. So, but NA is usually pretty much lockstep with everything that JP does. If they did that, won't it lead to legal issues? For what? For banning foreigners? No, probably not. It's just, I don't really expect them to do it, right? Like, let me state this. What reason do you have to believe that they would ban you? Like, seriously. I'm asking this as a like philosophical question. Because I don't see them going out of their way to get rid of somebody, doubly so if you're a paying customer, right? That doesn't mean they're gonna target you as free-to-plays or anything like that. It's more me saying that there's nothing they gain from getting rid of you. Basically, you're an active player. They don't care. They're probably making money off of you. So that's the only way I think they view it. Xenophobia? No, I mean, honestly, I think it's actually the reverse. I think if anything, assuming the Japanese people will ban you is xenophobia. But like, I don't really think it'll be a thing. I spend so much money on JP. Why would they ban me just for being in the USA? Yeah. Like, and the reason why I'm saying this is there's pushing people from other servers to make numbers bigger. I think they're well aware that there are NA people who play on JP and that there are JP people who play on NA. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't think this second one's the case. It is. There are people who do. Do you know what a horse's favorite dance is? Nay. The nay. Okay, there you go. I was just saying nay as in like no. If anything, why deny more streams of money? Yeah, and that's why I'm saying it's like it's not that they couldn't, it's not that they won't, it's just not in their interest to do so, and I think you can at least trust that like unless there was a big hullabaloo and you would hear about it, chat, this would probably be something that they would announce long before action got taken. You use an A to learn English, so it's reasonable. Yeah. No, I know there are Japanese people that play on an A. There's not a lot of them, but there are. I guess everyone likes 2-year clairvoyance. To some degree, it might be that. It may be learning English, like Chad has also said, or it may just be something where like they just want to relive the game again because people like this game, they like the story, and they want to re-experience it. Like it's if you guys think about it this way, playing only on NA, you go through the game and you will never get some of those experiences back ever again. So imagine playing on JP, feeling the same way, and then going, "Oh wait, there's another server 2 years in the past." I love this ascension, by the way. I do too. It's really nice. I like all of Bunny's ascensions, but I do like this one too. Tatiti Man, thank you for the follow. Well, I'm sorry. I do not speak a lick of Japanese. Even though I play on the Japanese server, I don't understand anything. But welcome to the stream regardless. It's a real shame we can't redo big fights in the story. Yeah, and to that degree, I wish we could, right? Send you some images below. Let me take a look. With the date of binding? Okay. Wait, so Avalon, in the images you sent me, why is there a transfer code button if you can't use it? Shows both options? That's weird. Oh no, never mind. I take it back. I see how people deleted their account. I see how it happened, chat. I see how it happened. This is the exact same damn screen, only you have this upper part. Like, straight up. So, yeah, no, I can easily see how someone would mistake that. Oh, that's spicy. But I get it, right? Just join what's the topic right now. We were going through the account linking. I wanted to go through it with chat somewhat and kind of talk about it, show it off, tell chat the limitations of it. You name it. People don't bother to double check with Google Lens. Not everybody has a Google device. Why can't they just do something well? It is what it is. I think it's like, you can tell when you're on the screen, though. Again, this top portion is unique wholly to that screen. So, but yeah, people do be like that. All right, chat, it is time. Time to media share. Which means, unfortunately, for those of you guys on the YouTube side of things, I have to get rid of you. I love you all. You guys can join us on Twitch, but we're going to be basically doing stuff that's going to probably be copyright related inevitably. So it's why I basically have to end it on the YouTube side of things. But thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys. And if you guys want to join us on the other end, I'll see you over here. If not, I will see you guys tomorrow for the Roland review.